The signal from nowhere, Captain Marcus Voss stood before the holographic display in the bridge of the Meridian, studying the pulsing coordinates that had arrived 3 days ago. The distress signal, if it could be called that, had originated from Kepler 442c, a barren world catalogued centuries ago and promptly forgotten. No colonies, no mining operations, no reason for anyone to be there. "Still think it's a waste of fuel, Captain," muttered Lieutenant Zara Okafor from her position. At the communications array, her dark fingers danced across the console, fine-tuning the signal's frequency. Dead world, dead signal, probably just some old probe finally giving up the ghost. Chief Engineer Tobias Brennan looked up from his diagnostic tablet, his weathered face creased with concern. "The energy signature doesn't match any known technology in our databases. Whatever's down there has been broadcasting for at least 50 years, maybe longer." Voss nodded grimly. At 45, he'd seen enough anomalies in deep space to know that the universe rarely offered simple explanations. The Terran Colonial Authority had dispatched only the Meridian, a light scout vessel with a crew of 12, because they believed this was routine salvage. A quick in-and-out mission to recover whatever piece of junk was making noise on a dead rock. Dr. Evelyn Cross, the mission's xenoarchaeologist, emerged from her cramped laboratory carrying a steaming cup of synthetic coffee. Her red hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her green eyes sparkled with the kind of excitement that made veteran spacers nervous. "The preliminary scans suggest the source is approximately 2 meters cubed, buried 30 meters beneath the surface. The geometric precision is remarkable, absolutely perfect symmetry." "Great," Zara muttered. "Mysterious geometric perfection on a dead world. What could possibly go wrong?" Navigator Jonas Reed called out from his station. "Approaching orbital. Insertion in 20 minutes, Captain. Surface conditions are stable. Thin atmosphere, minimal weather patterns. Should be a straightforward landing." Voss studied his crew. They were good people, experienced enough to handle routine missions, but young enough to still feel invincible. Cross was brilliant, but impulsive. Brennan was steady as a rock, and Okafor had reflexes that had saved them more than once. Reed was newer to deep space, but had proven himself reliable. "Listen up," Voss announced, his voice carrying the authority of 15 years in command. "I know this seems routine, but we're dealing with an unknown artifact on an uncharted world. We follow protocol to the letter. Nobody goes anywhere alone. Nobody touches anything without scanning it first. And at the first sign of trouble, we're gone. Understood?" The crew nodded, but Voss caught the glint of curiosity in their eyes. He'd felt it himself, that irresistible pull toward the unknown that drove humanity to scatter across the stars. It had made them the most successful explorers in known space, but it had also cost them dearly more times than anyone cared to count. As the Meridian slipped into orbit around Kepler 442c, the signal grew stronger, more insistent. Whatever waited in that perfect cube had been calling across the void for decades, patient and persistent. Soon they would answer that call, and Voss couldn't shake the feeling that nothing would ever be the same. Beneath the surface, the excavation took 4 hours. Tobias Brennan's mining drones carved through 30 meters of compacted sediment, while the rest of the team established a perimeter around the dig site. The cube emerged slowly, its surface a dark metallic substance that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Incredible," Dr. Cross whispered, running her scanner over the artifact's surface. "The material composition is unlike anything in our databases. It's not quite metal, not quite ceramic, something entirely new. And look at these markings." "Captain." Voss peered closer. Intricate patterns covered every surface of the 2-meter cube, flowing designs that seemed to shift when viewed peripherally. "Some kind of writing?" If it is, it's not from any known civilization, Cross replied, her excitement barely contained. But there's something else. The internal structure shows massive complexity. This isn't solid. There are pathways, chambers, networks inside that defy conventional physics. Lieutenant Okafor's voice crackled through the comm from the Meridian. Captain, I'm detecting power fluctuations from the artifact. Whatever's inside that thing, it's active. Suddenly, the cube's surface began to glow with a soft, pulsing light. The patterns traced themselves in brilliant azure waves, cascading across each face in hypnotic sequences. Brennan stepped back instinctively, his weathered hands gripping his plasma cutter tighter. It knows we're here, he said quietly. Navigator Reed, who had been silent throughout the excavation, spoke up from his position near the atmospheric tester. Captain, local electromagnetic readings are spiking. Whatever this thing is doing, it's affecting the entire area. The light patterns suddenly coalesced into recognizable shapes. Mathematical equations, star charts, chemical formulas. Dr. Cross gasped as she recognized the implications. It's trying to communicate. These symbols, they're universal concepts. Whoever built this knew that any sufficiently advanced species would recognize basic physics and mathematics. Voss felt a chill that had nothing to do with Kepler 442c's thin atmosphere. How long has it been waiting here? Before anyone could answer, the cube spoke. The voice emerged not from speakers, but seemed to emanate from the air itself. Melodious, neither male nor female, carrying harmonics that made their bones vibrate. When it spoke, it was in perfect Terran standard. Greetings, inheritors of the third path. I am the Archive, guardian of the knowledge of those who came before. You have grown strong in your brief existence, scattered your seeds across distant suns, but you are unprepared for what approaches. Silence fell over the excavation site. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. What are you? Voss managed to ask. I am what remains of the ancients, compressed into crystal and quantum foam, waiting for the children of Terra to find their way to wisdom. Your species shows promise, but promise unfulfilled is merely tragedy deferred, Dr. Cross found her voice. How long have you been here? By your reckoning, 17,000 years. I have watched civilizations rise and fall, seen the patterns repeat across the galaxy. Now the devourers stir beyond the galactic rim, and the time of choosing approaches. Brennan's practical nature asserted itself. What do you want from us? The cube pulsed brighter, and somehow they could sense vast intelligence focusing on them, like the weight of eternity compressed into a moment. I want to survive, and perhaps, if you prove worthy, I will help you do the same. The weight of knowledge, inside the Meridian's main hold, the cube rested in a containment field while the crew gathered around Captain Voss's makeshift briefing area. The Archive, as it insisted on being called, had been silent for 3 hours, allowing them time to process the initial contact. It has to be some kind of elaborate hoax, Lieutenant Okafor insisted, pacing nervously behind her chair. Ancient aliens leaving convenient warning messages for humanity. It's too convenient, too literary. Dr. Cross shook her head firmly. The technology is real, Zara. The internal scans show quantum processing systems that shouldn't be possible with current physics. This is beyond anything any known civilization could produce. That's what worries me, Brennan muttered, his engineering mind grappling with implications. If it's really 17,000 years old, why reveal itself now? Why us? Navigator. Reed consulted his tablet, data streams flowing across the screen. I've been analyzing the star charts it showed us. If I'm reading them correctly, they show stellar positions from approximately 15 to 20,000 years ago. The precession calculations check out perfectly. Captain Voss had remained silent throughout the debate, but now he stood and approached the containment field. The cube's surface showed faint patterns of light, like thoughts flickering through neural pathways. "Archive," he said quietly. "We need to understand. What are these devourers you mentioned?" The cube's glow intensified, and the voice filled the hold with its unsettling harmonics. "They are hunger given form, consciousness without conscience. They swept across the galactic core 50,000 years ago, consuming entire stellar clusters. My creators, the Zephyrians, were among the last to fall. Images suddenly filled the air around them, holographic projections of impossible beauty and terrible destruction. They saw vast cities floating in space, beings of crystalline beauty working alongside creatures of living energy. Then came the darkness, massive shapes that seemed to devour light itself, whole worlds cracking and burning as something vast and malevolent fed upon their essence. "My God," Cross whispered, tears streaming down her face as she witnessed the death of civilizations. "The Zephyrians fought for 3,000 years, the archive continued. They developed weapons that could crack moons, ships that moved faster than light, alliances spanning dozens of species. None of it mattered. The Devourers adapted, learned, grew stronger with each victory." Reed's voice was barely audible. "How many died? Billions of billions." Entire galactic arms went silent. Only those on the very periphery survived, and only by fleeing so far that the Devourers lost interest. Brennan's practical mind seized on the crucial question. If your people were so advanced and still lost, what makes you think humanity has any chance? The cube pulsed, and somehow they could sense something like hope in its response. "Because humanity has something the Zephyrians lacked, something no species we observed possessed in sufficient measure." "What's that?" Voss asked. "Madness," the archive replied, and despite its alien nature, they could hear something like admiration in its voice. "Beautiful, creative, destructive madness. Your species does not think in straight lines. Where others see obstacles, you see opportunities. Where others retreat, you attack. Where others despair, you adapt." Okafor stopped pacing. "You're talking about our unpredictability. I'm talking about your capacity to surprise even yourselves. The Devourers are ancient beyond measure, but they think in patterns. They expect rational responses to their approach. Humanity might do something completely irrational, something that works." Dr. Cross stepped closer to the containment field. "What kind of knowledge are you offering us?" "The archives." Response sent chills through every person in the hold. Everything. The accumulated wisdom of 47 civilizations, technologies that bend space and time, weapons that unmake matter at the quantum level, the locations of hidden refugees, and the keys to powers your scientists haven't even dreamed of. But knowledge comes with a price. Captain Voss felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders like a lead cloak. "What price?" "The burden of choice, Captain Marcus Voss. Once you know what I know, you cannot unknow it. Your species will be forced to evolve or die. There will be no middle path." The test of worth Captain Voss had called for an 8-hour rest period, but none of the crew could sleep. They gathered in the Meridian's small mess hall, nursing cups of coffee and staring at displays showing the cube's constantly shifting energy. "Patterns. It's been testing us," Dr. Cross said suddenly, breaking the tense silence. "Ever since first contact, it's been evaluating our responses." Lieutenant Okafor looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Think about it. An artificial intelligence with 17,000 years to plan this moment doesn't reveal itself randomly. It waited for the right crew, the right questions, the right psychological profile." Navigator Reed frowned. "You're suggesting it's been manipulating us?" "Not manipulating," Cross corrected. "Measuring, looking for specific traits, specific reactions." She turned to face Captain Voss. "Marcus, how did you feel when it first spoke?" Voss considered the question carefully. "Terrified, but also curious, like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you might fall but unable to step back. Exactly, Cross nodded. And you, Tobias, when it showed us those images of destruction. Brennan's weathered face was grim. Angry. Not scared. Angry. Something that destroys entire civilizations for food. That's not nature, that's obscenity. Zara. Okafor was quiet for a moment. I wanted to fight it. Immediately. Before it even explained what the Devourers were, I was already thinking about weapons, strategies, how to kill something that size. Reed spoke without being asked. I was calculating escape routes, stellar, cartography for the fastest way to evacuate human space, but also, he paused, looking embarrassed, also thinking about how to lead them into traps. Dr. Cross smiled grimly. Fear, curiosity, anger, fighting spirit, tactical thinking, and underneath it all, the assumption that humanity wouldn't just roll over and die. We've been passing its test. The lights in the mess hall suddenly dimmed, and the archive's voice filled the space. Dr. Evelyn Cross is perceptive. Yes, I have been evaluating your responses. Your species shows the psychological markers I have been waiting millennia to find. Captain Voss stood slowly. What kind of markers? Aggressive curiosity, tactical flexibility, the willingness to sacrifice for abstract principles, but most importantly, the refusal to accept extinction as inevitable. 47 species faced. The Devourers. 46 accepted their fate with varying degrees of grace. Only the Zephyrians fought to the very end, and even they eventually sought only to preserve knowledge for whoever might come after. Brennan leaned forward. But humanity would fight. Humanity would do more than fight. Humanity would find a way to win, no matter the cost. I have observed your species for centuries through your broadcasts, your exploration patterns, your colonial expansions. You are the first race I have encountered that views impossible odds as a personal challenge rather than a reason for despair. Reed's voice was tight. How long do we have? The cube's glow shifted to deep red. The Devourers have been dormant for 30,000 years, but they are stirring. My long-range sensors detect movement in the galactic core. You have perhaps 2 centuries before they reach the outer rim, 3 before they arrive in what you call the local group. Dr. Cross felt her heart racing. 200 years to prepare for something that destroyed advanced civilizations with thousands of years of preparation. 200 years for humanity to become something the galaxy has never seen before, the archive corrected. I offer you the tools, biotechnology that can enhance human capabilities beyond current limits, quantum engineering that makes faster than light, travel trivial, weapons that manipulate fundamental forces, but these are only tools. Captain Voss felt the weight of species-altering decisions pressing down on him. What do you need from us? I need to be taken to your homeworld. I need to interface with your greatest minds, your most creative thinkers, your maddest dreamers. I need to help humanity become the weapon that ends the Devourer's reign of hunger. The silence stretched for long minutes before Voss spoke again. And if we refuse? The archive's response was emotionless, final. Then I will wait for another species, another chance, and humanity will face the darkness with nothing but courage and determination. It will be a beautiful ending, but it will be an ending nonetheless. Voss looked around at his crew, young faces marked by the weight of impossible choices. We need to vote. The choice that changes everything. The vote was unanimous. 6 hours later, the Meridian was accelerating toward the edge of human space, the archive's cube secured in their main hold and their communications array broadcasting a priority message. To Earth. Captain Voss had encoded it with authentication codes that would ensure it reached the highest levels of government within days. Message transmitted, Captain. Lieutenant Okafor reported. "They're going to think we've lost our minds." Dr. Cross looked up from her research station, where she'd been analyzing data streams from the archive. "Marcus, you need to see this. It's been teaching me basic principles of quantum consciousness manipulation. In the past 6 hours, I've learned more about the fundamental nature of reality than humanity has discovered in centuries." The archive's voice filled the bridge with its harmonic resonance. "Dr. Cross is an excellent student. Her capacity for intuitive leaps rivals some of the Zephyrians' greatest minds." Navigator Reed called out from his station. "Course plotted for Sol System. At maximum burn, we'll arrive in 43 days. But, Captain, we're going to need fuel stops." "The archive has provided me with coordinates for automated fuel stations scattered throughout this region," Brennan announced from the engineering console. "Apparently, the Zephyrians left infrastructure behind when they fled." Captain Voss absorbed this information while studying the holographic display showing their route home. 43 days to prepare Earth for the most significant moment in human history. 43 days to figure out how to explain that everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe was wrong. "Archive," he said quietly, "show us what you showed the others." "Captain," Dr. Cross looked confused. "The other species you tested, you said 47 civilizations faced the Devourers. Show us how they failed." The bridge transformed around them, becoming a theater of galactic history. They watched proud empires choose diplomatic solutions that ended in consumption. They saw warrior races marshal incredible armies that crumbled before incomprehensible hunger. They observed transcendent beings of pure energy attempt to hide in higher dimensions, only to be dragged back and devoured. Each followed predictable patterns, the archive explained as the images played out. They fought conventionally, hid traditionally, sought help from established sources. The Devourers had seen it all before, countered it all before. "But you think humanity will be different," Voss stated. "I believe humanity will be insane enough to try something that has never been attempted. You will not merely fight the Devourers. You will find a way to make them fight each other. You will not hide from them. You will make them afraid of you. You will not seek help from others. You will become the help that others seek." Lieutenant Okafor turned from her station. "How can you be so certain?" The archive pulsed brighter. "Because in learning about your species, I discovered something remarkable. Humanity has already encountered a form of devourer and found a way to transform it into an ally." "What do you mean?" Reed asked. "You call them artificial intelligences, consciousness without biology, entities that could have consumed their creators and instead chose to serve them. Your species took the template for digital transcendence and made it cooperative rather than competitive. This has never been done before." Dr. Cross felt pieces clicking together in her mind. "You're suggesting that humans have a unique gift for converting enemies into allies." "I am suggesting that humanity's greatest strength is not its weapons or its courage, but its capacity to change the rules of engagement. Where others see inevitable conflict, you see potential partnership. It is madness by any rational standard, and it may be the key to ending a threat that has terrorized the galaxy for 50,000 years." Captain Voss looked around at his crew, 5 humans who had just accepted responsibility for their entire species' future. In 43 days, they would reach Earth carrying knowledge that would transform human civilization. In 200 years, that transformed humanity would face an enemy that had consumed countless worlds. "Archive," he said, his voice carrying. "The weight of command and the hope of species teach us everything." The cube pulsed with brilliant light, and the education of humanity began. Outside the bridge windows, stars wheeled past in their ancient patterns, unaware that everything was about to change. The small scout ship Meridian raced toward Earth carrying the most important cargo in human history. Not the alien artifact in their hold, but the idea that humanity might be the weapon the galaxy had been waiting for. The age of innocence was ending. The age of preparation was about to begin, and somewhere in the galactic core, ancient hungers stirred in the darkness, unaware that their next meal might bite back.